All right, here we go with week 4. So last week I went 9-4 on my picks. So we'll see how we do with week 12. One of the things is I've started using a Bayesian revision, and it worked really well last week. This week I'm going to make this a short day. So Buffalo versus Detroit. Buffalo has picked my 9.5 points. I'm going to take Detroit as 9.5 points is a pretty big point spread. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty intense day. Detroit played really well this last week. And looking at the Bayesian revision, it shows that Buffalo should still win, but not by 9.5, closer to like 4 points. And so because of that, and just given Buffalo's past history of really playing the level of their competition, I'm not sure that they can win by 9.5. We'll see. Look at the run pass chart. As you would expect to see, Buffalo is going to have a superior all-around game. But a couple things that I would point out is let's see here. Just trying to get the laser to work. But I think Detroit's going to end up having more ball carriers. They're going to have more of the team. They're also going to be. They've been running the ball really well. Jared Goff has been controlling the ball really well. So good for him. Next game, Giants versus the Cowboys. I'm going to take the Giants. Dallas is favored by 9.5 points. The model is saying that it should be closer than that. And then when I look at Bayesian, as it said, it actually favors the Giants. So with that, the next set of the charts here, if the Giants can control the ball and not do anything crazy with it, they basically hand the ball to Saquon Barkley and not turn it over, they should be good. If maybe not to win, it's certainly to make it close. I think they'll definitely need to control rein in the Dallas pass game a bit. But that notwithstanding, is it should be a closer game than what the point spread is saying. Next game, New England versus Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 2.5 points. The pure model is saying that New England should win that by quite a bit. When I look at the Bayesian point spread adjustment, the revision, it shows that Minnesota should be slightly favored, but by less than half a point even. And so with that, I'm still going to go ahead and take New England with that. I realize that with New England, they tend to be an up and down kind of a team. But then again, so is Minnesota as well. That's true. So when I look at that, you can definitely see how, if you look at the run pass chart, how on the upper left, how Minnesota has some explosiveness there. And when you come over and look at the right, but you can also see at the right top, you can see that they have a harder time controlling, protecting their quarterback, controlling the ball. And then when you look down at the lower right, you can see that New England's better at all of those things. And that's oftentimes going to make a big difference in how the model plays out the average score. All right, Chicago versus the New York Jets. The Jets are favored by 4.5. The model says that Chicago should win, but as I said, when I look at the Bayesian revision, is it revised the Jet performance downward as the model has consistently been overestimating how the Bears perform. And so what that is actually predicting that the Jets should win by about 3.5 to 4 points. Okay. And we come over here, look at the run pass slide. Again, the Bears' primary game here is going to be the rushing game, particularly with Justin Fields not being a heavy passer and being such an effective runner. But he certainly is able to pass when he needs to. But then when you look at the Jets, a bit more of a more balanced capability. They're also protecting the the passer and the ball quite a bit more. It looks as though they've got some more explosiveness as well. If you look at the upper right, and you look at the Jets 20+ yard play, so that tends to make a big difference. We'll see how the running game really pans out. All right, next game we've got Atlanta versus Washington. Washington is favored by 4. The model has Atlanta winning by about 4.5. And when I with the Bayesian is it has Atlanta winning by a little bit less than 4. Actually, it has them winning by more with the Bayesian analysis. Has them winning by about 1.5. So with that, given it's how Washington is favored by so much, and it's at Washington, I can see why the point spread is going towards them. And Washington's they've been playing pretty well of late. I agree, but Atlanta, I think, has played better than most people give them credit for. And let's take scores. So when you come over here, Atlanta's had a very good rushing offense this year. Ultimately, I would say that Washington has certainly impressed a lot of people, myself included. We'll see if Atlanta can control the ball and get some of that explosiveness that I think they've demonstrated. But overall, the teams are pretty well matched if you look at all the charts down here. The biggest difference is if you look at the number of plays, Atlanta is expected to have more, and that gives them a slight edge. All right, next game, Baltimore versus Jacksonville. Baltimore is favored by 4 points, and the model suggests that it shows that it should be a closer game, should be about a 2 to 3 point game, and with the Bayesian revision, it shows it should be a bit more than that. And when you look at the fundamentals of Baltimore, they really are a bit better of a team, I think. Jacksonville has shown some bright points this year, but I think overall Baltimore dominated that game. Excuse me, guys. I have a bit of a cold. I'm on the East Coast this week, so some of this cold weather has got me a little bit stuffed up. So then if we look at the run pass charts, Baltimore, the running game should take it. And then again, when you look at Lamar Jackson, he's just really able to throttle the opponents. One thing I'll point out is when you look at Jacksonville, they've got some explosiveness. They do have a problem, I think, protecting their quarterback, as there's a pretty high sack rate and then a fair number of interceptions as well. But that notwithstanding, Jacksonville does certainly have some capability, but I think Baltimore, with a strong run game and then with all the tools they have on that team, I think they're better rounded. And the model suggests. Next is Cincinnati versus Tennessee. Cincinnati favored by 1.5 points, and the model suggests that that Cincinnati should win by a bit more than that. And then with the Bayesian revision also supports that as well. Again, their pass game has just been getting better throughout the year, as one would expect. Tennessee's got that strong run game that can be a fantastic neutralizer, especially when you go down and look at the number of plays. Tennessee's expected to have control of that ball. So it's always hard to tell how that's going to work, particularly since you've got Derrick Henry and then they've got the quarterback back for Tennessee. So that could certainly throw things off, but that notwithstanding, Cincinnati's shown that they can put up a lot of points really fast. And that's what both the regular model and then the Bayesian revision is also showing. Next, we've got Denver versus Carolina. Denver's favored by 2.5 points, and the model suggests it's about that as well. The Bayesian revision doesn't really change much. We look at the run pass charts. I see that Denver should have a better passing game, and Carolina should have a better rushing game. We'll see how that goes. Overall, I think Denver has severely underperformed this year. So it's difficult to manage to put those together. I think overall this is going to be a poor game. I think both programs are struggling to try and find what they're doing. All right, next game we've got Green Bay versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is favored by 7 points. I'm going to go ahead and take Philadelphia on that. This is one to where I struggled with it because that's a big point spread. Green Bay has shown that they can play very well and they can play very poor. And so in this case here, the model in the Philadelphia has certainly shown their propensity of playing down to the level of their opponents here, particularly of late. It would appear as though there is some shine coming off of that luster. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, I'm expecting Philadelphia to win by more. Look at the run pass charts here. Philadelphia has a much better rounded game, a lot more explosiveness, as we can see in the upper right hand corner there. And then not to mention just a overall better capability of controlling the ball. That goes along with that. But the one thing I'll point out is Green Bay is expected to have more ball controls, ball touches. But then again, they're also turning the ball over quite a bit more. But they have shown a little bit of explosiveness of late, as you can see in the lower right-hand chart. But overall, they haven't been particularly explosive. All right. Houston versus Miami. Miami is favored by 13 points. The model does not show that it's going to be that close of a game until I use the Bayesian revision. And with that, it shows that Miami should win by quite a bit. And then I can understand why. Miami's been playing very well lately. They've got one of the most explosive offenses out. We can take a look at that as well. Their passing game has been good and been getting much better. The running game has been consistent. Houston has, quite frankly, I think any of the yards they've been getting has largely been garbage types of yards anyhow in the garbage time. You look at that far right in terms of that explosiveness, Miami is through the roof on that. They're running the ball well. They're hitting the deep passes well. They've got such a deep threat all the way around. I just don't see Houston really defending that. All right. Vegas versus Seattle. Seattle is favored by 3.5. I'm going to take Las Vegas. The model shows that Seattle should win by more than 8 points, but with the Bayesian revision, it shows that the model's been consistently underestimating the Las Vegas performance, and consequently overestimating the Seattle performance. So with that, I can see this being a closer game than 3.5 points. It wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders still end up blowing it. That's the Raider way. Sorry for you Raider fans out there, but that's just the way they do it. But the Raiders certainly have some offensive capability. They're just trying to find it there. They've only got 3 wins on the year as compared to Seattle, but at the same time, they've also shown that they can pull it out and win, or they can certainly make it close. So this is definitely an upset that I'm picking here. We'll see how that goes. Now let's just see here on the run pass one. Chargers versus Arizona. Chargers are favored by 4.5 points. That's about what the model says. And the Bayesian revision shows Chargers should win by quite a bit more than that. Again, the Chargers' explosiveness really starts to stand out when you look at the right two charts there. They've been playing better of late. Certainly have a lot of capability. Starting to get some of their timing down. Anytime you have Justin Herbert with the ball, you've got a lot of capability. And quite frankly, when you look at the Arizona play, they've been poor and getting worse. And it looks as though Kyler Murray won't be playing again, which is only a downward cycle. So it's hard to take a backup quarterback against a one of the best quarterbacks in the league who's trying to get their team back into the playoffs. All right, Chiefs versus the Rams. This one here, Chiefs are favored by 14.5. It's also looking as though Matthew Stafford won't be playing. As much as it pains me to take any team over my Rams, I'm going to have to take the Chiefs. The model and the Bayesian revision both show that the Chiefs should win by quite a bit. One thing I'll point out is the overall, it shows the Rams has some explosiveness. When you look at the left, upper left of the run pass chart, but you look at the bottom right, it really tells a different story. It shows how little explosiveness they have as compared to the top right chart with Kansas City 20 plus yards plays. They've got a lot. They're very explosive in that, and they've been doing a good job of controlling the ball, protecting Patrick Mahomes as compared to the Rams, who couldn't protect anything. All right, Saints versus the Niners. Niners are favored by 9 points. I'm going to take the Niners. The Bayesian revision shows that it should be more than the 4.5 points that the correlated point spread has, and also more than what the 5-point spread, if you look over at the point card on the right. So with that, the Niners have been playing well. This last game, they looked really good, I thought, against Arizona. And they're certainly getting Christian McCaffrey getting better. So we look at the run pass charts over here as well. I don't think it really shows the level with which I think San Francisco's better. They've got a much stronger run game, a lot more explosiveness. And the pass game has been fairly consistent. Again, I think the bigger problem you always have is when Jimmy G has a ball, he tends to throw interceptions, but you're also seeing that with New Orleans Saints. But it's going to be a physical ball game either way. And San Francisco is really starting to play a lot better here, particularly with CMC. All right, Tampa Bay versus Cleveland. Tampa Bay is favored by 3.5 points. I'm going to take Tampa. I'll go to the next one. Tampa Bay, they're starting to play a little bit better. They're starting to find their groove, I think. Cleveland, they're even though they're running the ball fairly well, everyone knows that they're going to run. They don't seem to have much of a pass game. And anytime you've got Tom Brady out there, you know that there's going to be a fairly consistent level of play. Not a whole lot of interceptions, not a whole lot of fumbles. He's doing a good job avoiding the sack, and all the opposite is all true of Cleveland. And they seem to have some decent explosiveness with a few threats that they. And for the final game of the week, we've got Pittsburgh versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis is favored by 2.5 points. I'm going to be taking Pittsburgh. The model favors Pittsburgh, and then when I look at the Bayesian revision, is it really favors Pittsburgh? That is difficult, seeing as how Indianapolis shifted gears. They have a new coach, controversial new coach, and they actually put Matt Ryan back in, who's been playing well. But that notwithstanding, it's hard to deny that Pittsburgh has been making a lot of well. So when it comes to the run pass charts, it certainly shows that Pittsburgh is, I would say, about equal with Indianapolis. And then when we come over to the right, though, you can definitely see how Indianapolis has got a lot of problems controlling the ball, protecting the quarterback, particularly when it comes to the interceptions. That makes a big, big difference, particularly when it comes to model and with real football. Pittsburgh has not shown the same level of explosiveness, but I think that's been on the year of late. They've been certainly finding themselves and improving, and that's the reason why the model has picked that. So that wraps it up for the week. I hope everyone has a good week and a good Thanksgiving.